Welcome to Bunch Formation, the 50th episode of your newest favorite college football show. I'm Chris Vannini, and I had never won in Happy Valley, but only I had never won in Happy Valley.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody's keeping count of the number of shows. I am David Ubben, and I'm glad we made it through a Sunday without somebody getting fired, Chris. I don't even think we had a good, like a P5 coordinator fire. So how about that?
Fingers crossed as of recording that is it. Those are famous laughter words. Folks, we got a big show today. A ton to talk about with Week 11. Indiana's still alive by inches for the number one seed.
Well, inches, Chris, centimeters.
Centimeters, millimeters. The ACC is wobbling heavily. CFP implications galore. And I'm excited to get into all of it, including some surprising results outside of the playoff race. There's so many games going on involving the playoff, conference races, bowl games. We got a lot to get to. We have already gone pretty deep on the biggest games. We went live on YouTube, on the Bunch Formation YouTube channel, Saturday night for about an hour. That is in your audio feed right now as well. So it should be in your feed Week 11 after dark. So we won't need to go deep on some of the biggest games. We've already done that. We're going to get into more stuff in general in this games, but I had a good time. We had like 2,000 people in that live broadcast because I sent it out through Twitter instead of just YouTube. And it turns out, since we have a lot more followers on Twitter, that's where they're coming in. So appreciate it.
It's almost like we've invested, time and energy in that site, over the last 15, 20 years and not as much on the last 3 months on Twitter. On YouTube. So, hey, there you go.
But if you're new to the show and you found us through that, welcome. This is our normal Monday reaction show. Much more structured, much more to get into. If you haven't checked out the show notes, if you want to jump ahead to anything, we will have timestamps in there. Send all your feedback to bunchformationpod@gmail.com, including new nominations for Remember Some Guys. We are getting pretty low now on the list. Usually I need to put out a call to reload that because all the listeners, you guys get to submit somebody as well. So please send your nominations to bunchformationpod@gmail.com.
We're forgetting guys, Chris. We can't be forgetting guys. We
cannot be forgetting guys. We are Bunch Formation on all the social medias. And please leave us a 5-star review on Apple or a comment with a 5-star on Spotify. And we actually do not have any new ones as of a couple days ago when I checked. So if you want to be mentioned on the show, please give us a review. It's greatly appreciated. Helps the show. 50 episodes of just doing this on our own, editing it ourselves. There's no production. There's no nothing. It's just us. Now I'm having a good time. You having a good time, David?
No, not.
No, Heartbreak City.
It's been fun.
That one hurt my heart.
I like just being able to do what we want, Chris. This is like the wild, wild west of we have jobs and people to answer to, but this show is pretty much just us. So it is fun.
You know how I feel when I'm doing this show?
I'm happier than a pig eating
Thank you.
There you go.
We have added Gus Johnson to the soundboard in many different ways after
the GOAT.
We had the Gus Johnson conversation on the last show. We will recap it again. His call of the Indiana touchdown and all that stuff. But before we do that,
Chris, can I offer a brief? You mentioned Barry Switzer. Can I offer a brief Barry Switzer story?
Do it.
There was a Barry Switzer, by the way, that old school class of coaches like the Switzers, the Bobby Bowden, some of these other guys, like they always answered their phones. And so I had to call Switzer for a handful of stuff over the years. And there was a time when I hosted a different podcast and I had him, I was going to bring him on to talk about Red River. And I caught him on the golf course and I explained to him what we were doing and what a podcast was. And he said, so basically you call me, we talk and you get paid and I get nothing. And I said, that's pretty much how it works. And he said, all right, call me at 12:30 tomorrow. And sure enough, I called him, he answered, and he was great. And every time I've talked to Barry Switzer over the years, it's been great. He is very entertaining.
Not many guys like that left in college football. So, all right, it's time to get into the weekend that was, and we get into the game recaps.
The kids are playing their tail off, and the coaches are screwing it up.
Indiana 27, Penn State 24.
Slip
Cooper still fits.
Omar Cooper with an unbelievable catch, tapping the toe in the final minute as Indiana wins. Unbelievable. As I've kind of gone back and rewatched some highlights, looked at the numbers, this is like, it's kind of in that weird spot with Indiana where it's like, are you better for like being put through the adversity and coming out on the end with a win? Or are you better like Ohio State, having not had any trouble with Penn State at all? Like, how would you weigh those two things? Would you rather go through this and come out with a win?
I think Penn State is a really poor example of this because they're such a weird team. Like, yes, they are 0-6, 3-6, but they're still freakishly talented. They still have two of the best backs that you're going to see in the country. So I think like struggling with Penn State, especially on the road, I think it's just a fundamentally different thing that's hard to get your head around in a way that, like, if they struggled with, Purdue on the road or Michigan State or Wisconsin, like the actual bad teams. Like Penn State's record is bad, but they have good players. And even without Drew Aller, like you saw that they could go toe to toe on the line of scrimmage with Indiana. So like, I think ultimately I'm okay with it because I think you learn a lot about your team and I think you get a lot of confidence in situations like that where you have a group of guys that if you're down 10 with 12 minutes left, you can say, hey, we're going to go win this game and believe it, versus there are some teams that are going to go into the playoff and if they're up 3 when the fourth quarter starts, they're going to get tight. And I think that stuff really, really matters.
Yeah, like to an extent, like, if you're Ohio State, you're going to be in probably tight games in the end of the season. How do your guys react to that, having not been through it this year? I guess they kind of were in the Texas game.
Not really, though. Texas game, like Texas they were up 7 for most of it, and it felt like that lead Texas was 20, and they had one drive where they could push it, but it's like,
Yeah, I mean, Texas had the ball late with a chance to tie it, so they have been there. But like, do your guys panic, or do they have the confidence they'll get through that? Ultimately, I have switched and put Ohio State at number 1 in my rankings now as a result of this game. I do think Indiana's resume technically is better. I mean, the fact that Indiana has now won at Penn State, Oregon, and Iowa, all road games in the same year, incredibly impressive no matter the context. And and Ohio State has only played at Washington or at Illinois. But 2 of those games, Indiana has needed to score late, the Iowa game, the Penn State game. And Ohio State, after that Texas game, they've won every game by at least 3 scores. So they really have been rolling. And ultimately, I think I am now in the position where I'm okay putting them number 1 after getting all the Ohio State fans mad at me in the comments and on Twitter during the playoff things.
Chris, but you're not going to believe it, me, of the hottest rankings takes. I think Ohio State's a better team. I think Indiana has a better resume. I'm good with whoever at number 1.
So here's my other takeaway on Indiana. And we now have like kind of, I know it's not exactly the same team, but we have 2 seasons of Curt Cignetti's Indiana. And what I've noticed is that they almost always struggle offensively when they play a legitimate, really good front 4. I'm talking the Michigan game last year, Ohio State last year, Notre Dame last year, Iowa this year, and now Penn State. And that is the concern because Iowa is in like the 70s or 80s on 247 Sports team talent rankings. Like they're not like it's not like they brought in a great transfer class or anything like that. They are just simply playing way above their talent level, at least as it was designated as recruits. And so that is something that would still give me a lot of pause if I'm Indiana, where like when they play a team they're better than, they destroy them. But it's a lot different when you're playing these teams that are really good up front. And how can Indiana react to that? Now, they did beat Michigan last year. They did beat Iowa and Penn State this year. So they have been able to kind of work around it a bit. But that's where you see it show up. If you're elite or not, is in the trenches. And Indiana's a bit shaky right now. So.
Yeah, and I think there's, they're not going to see a lot of teams that aren't going to be significantly more talented than them in the playoff.
Yeah.
Maybe in the quarters, maybe, but we'll see kind of how the bracket shakes out. But we don't really know what to make of this team because last year was last year. They got to go to a really good Notre Dame team that people knew was really good. Obviously had to outweigh the Northern Illinois loss, but that's the same Notre Dame team that obviously carried its way to the national championship game. And they looked a little bit outclassed in that game in the same way that they did when they played Ohio State last year. And so I don't know that we're going to see that with this team this year, but there is a lack of trust, I think, with this team in a way that like the past Alabama teams or the past Ohio State teams, that if they had lost, 31-17 in the playoff, our jaw would be on the floor. I don't know that people still feel that way about Indiana, as much as what we've seen so far has been really impressive, and they do look like a national title contender. It's still Indiana. The recruiting stuff still is kind of in the back of your head. So we'll see what that looks like when they got to go through a gauntlet and beat, 3 teams probably that are going to be good. And then, of course, the Big Ten championship game, I think, will tell us a lot about the team too.
Yeah. Speaking of terrifying fronts, number 8, Texas Tech 29, BYU 7. A game that was only this close because Texas Tech could not score in the red zone, like barely at all. And because Joey McGuire went for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal at the end of the first half. The question coming into this game, can BYU block Texas Tech? They could not. And Barry Bachmeier was running for his life. And I think this defense is absolutely legit. I think they would play well against anybody in the country. And Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker, is kind of getting the Heisman push, and even Joey McGuire is pushing that as well. But I feel like David Bailey's like,
that I didn't really
disruptive.
understand that as well. Like it's ultimately it's
because
really
he's got
hard
the
on
stats.
the defense.
Rodriguez has the fumbles and the interception in that game. He's got the highlight moments, so I get it.
Can I drop a take on us, Chris?
Hold on. We got to take. That means we got to bring out the heat check.
Analytics. Throw him in the garbage.
It's ironic that clip comes from a Texas Tech game like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know when. Chris, the coaching carousel is starting to spin. And you know whose name we're not hearing at all in hardly anything? Is Joey McGuire. It's Joey McGuire. I don't expect to. Do you know why I think that's the case, Chris?
Why is that, David?
I think Joey McGuire has one of the 5 best coaching jobs in college football right now. The sport is changing. How you succeed, what you need to succeed is changing. And I think for most of the last 100 years, you could just point to, the biggest brands with the best history, the Ohio States, the Texases, all of these places. But a lot of the sport right now is about playoff access and what that looks like. And in the current Big 12, you have Texas Tech that, as it currently stands, is playing a different sport than the rest of the entire conference. Joey McGuire is coaching a roster that is head and shoulders above anything else we see in the Big 12. For a long time, it was kind of Texas and Oklahoma were recruiting in a different stratosphere. Oklahoma State, Baylor had some moments where they'd kind of inch into those top 20s, but never that top 5, top 10 level that Oklahoma and Texas were at. Texas Tech is pretty close to that now. It's hard to really suss that out based on the transfer class. The recruiting team talent composite is less reliable than it has been in the past. But there are basically 2 programs in college football right now, Chris, that just have so much more money and so much more access to talent than anyone else in their conference. It's Liberty down in the CUSA, and it's Texas Tech. You go into the ACC, it's still pretty even. Clemson has a peer in Florida State when it comes to recruiting and it comes to brand and history and all that stuff. The SEC, there's 6 or 8 at the top that are all kind of interchangeable. Obviously, in the Big Ten, Ohio State's kind of ruled the roost, but they've got the Michigan bugaboo. You've got Oregon in the mix now. You've got USC that's always got a high ceiling. And in the Big 12, Texas Tech moving forward, $15 billion goes a long way. And being able to do that.
Wait. Million. You said billion.
$15 billion, Chris. That doesn't mean it's all going into the team. But Cody Campbell has sold his 4 oil situations for $15 billion. They've invested over $20 million in this team. Obviously, they're not going to spend that all in one place. The point of the $15 billion is spending $20 million on a roster is not that big of a deal for their biggest boosters. And this is a new thing. And yes, they're not necessarily spending at the absolute top of the sport. But I would venture to say that BYU is probably the only team in the Big 12 that's even sniffing the 20 million mark. And that is a luxury that not many people have. And so for that reason, you're going to be hard pressed to tell me that Texas Tech is not one of the best college football coaching jobs in the country right now.
So this kind of goes along with what you said on Saturday night, which was that this is the beginning of a dynasty for Texas Tech, which I said, hold on, they've never even made the championship game yet. Now they will this year, but Texas Tech has never played in the Big 12 championship. We got a comment on Spotify from listener Jome V, who said, you can't be calling Texas Tech a dynasty already. Come on, man. And I would just say,
can't you? I think you can. I think I just did.
I would just say, like, if you want to talk about a stock investing in as like, hey, Texas Tech for the next 5 years, that's the stock to buy. I get that. And I'm with that. I'm not ready to call it a top 5 job right now because I need to see more of it. Now, the recruiting class currently for Texas Tech ranks number 17 in the country. They do have 2 5-star commits. So it's better than it's been there, but you are still very far behind some of these other typically elite programs in terms of recruiting. And I don't think you can fully transfer yourself there everywhere. Now, top 5 job, like the path to the playoff, I agree. But do you think Texas Tech will be able to compete for a national championship?
Soon, yes. This year, maybe. I think that there's still some brand bias that they're working against. Nobody takes Texas Tech seriously yet. There was a lot of skepticism this offseason about whether or not it would work. I think Joey McGuire has done a really good job of managing those personalities. We've seen this go awry.
You mean when Pat McAfee's crew was there at Texas Tech on Friday and they were like, I've never thought about Texas Tech before.
Yeah. I've thought about Texas Tech a lot, and I've mostly been watching them give up 60 points in games that mattered for a long time. That ain't happening right now. And I think ultimately you're just looking at a program that is set up to have some wild success moving forward. And it's an exciting time. Like if you're going to get on the ground floor of any sports team, for the Niles of the world, pretty much the Spurs and Texas Tech football would be my number 1 and number 2 right now.
I'm not there yet where, like, if I was to say top 5 job, I'd have to say you can win a national championship here. And I'm not ready to say that.
Why not? Why are you hesitant to see it with Texas Tech? It's sustainable. It's working.
Because they don't have the roster yet. Because they don't have the full roster yet, and I need to see it for more than 1 year. Now, the 2026 recruiting class, they have 2 5-star commits out of 4 players. So, like, that could be the building of something that's more sustainable. Pretty funny. You want to know who has the number 5 recruiting class in 2027 right now?
I don't know. I haven't really followed it.
Sacramento State. So,
all right.
They're it's early. It's early. So, like, as for this Texas Tech team, like, if Baron Morton was healthy, I'd feel better. He's limping out there. And you don't have your backup Hammond. So, like, if he goes down and you're down to Mitch Griffiths, right? Mitch Griffiths. Griffiths. You're going to be in a very difficult spot. But I do think this defense is legit. I do think it's a buy low for the future stock. I'm with you. I'm not ready to see that right now. But at a time when everybody's talking about what is Lincoln Riley going to do, I will say that there were people before the season who I talked to who said, hey, if Joey McGuire doesn't do a good job with this year's team, keep an eye on Lincoln Riley.
That's part of this, Chris.
And wait. And Lincoln Riley and Cody Campbell, I believe, played together or at least worked together. They were at Texas Tech together. They are very close.
Yeah.
And now it's not at a point now where you're not getting rid of Joey at this point. Now, if they had lost this weekend and suddenly were in danger of missing the Big 12 championship and did miss the Big 12 championship, I would not have ruled out the possibility of a potential change.
No, I think if they missed the Big 12
I don't see that
this year, I
happening.
think it'd be very fair to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of my argument, though, Chris, is, we obviously had a lot of conversations with coaches at Big 12 Media Days about the Texas Tech situation and was this going to work? This is kind of the first time we've seen them go all in and do this before. But I think that the reality is, of all the places in the country, if they fired their coach today, the place that would get the most qualified resumes, you don't think Texas Tech would be in that top 5? They could say, hey, I get to go somewhere and I get to have a way better roster than everyone else in my conference, and I can pretty much cakewalk to 9 and 10 wins almost every year, and then maybe compete for a national championship in peak years. That sounds like a pretty good gig to me.
I mean, I wouldn't put it top 5 for anybody in the country. I am curious, though. Like you threw out the question over under 4.5 Big 12 titles in 10 years for them. I think the possibility is if that happens, Joey McGuire gets a better job or moves on to somewhere. I don't know, or maybe he doesn't want to, because we don't know. Like, we're still so early in this player payment era, and we are still a little unclear how schools are going to circumvent the cap moving forward, because this year they front loaded everything. They got it in before the deadline. And so you have these gigantic rosters right now where, technically speaking, the salary cap for teams will be smaller next year when taking out the front half of this year's deals. How will schools work to get around that? We don't know yet. I'm not saying Texas Tech is going to abide by $20.5 million or whatever the rule is. Nobody is going to do that, but we will see. But all right, that's a lot of Texas Tech. We got a lot more to get to on the show. I think it's a worthy take. I'm glad we had that conversation. It is definitely something worth thinking about. Going back to the Big Ten, number 9, Oregon 18, Iowa 16. Iowa lost by 2, and they gave up 2 points on a safety on a bad snap to the punter. That's on
By the
one
way,
hand.
did you see the Iowa safety trutherism here, which I think is actually a good question?
What's that?
The punter bats the ball at like the 2-yard line. I saw some people asking why they wouldn't just be able to get the dead ball right there at the 2 and give it to Oregon. I don't have a good answer to that question.
That they talked about that on the in the broadcast. Whoever the rules guy is for CBS, they did talk about it, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but that was discussed. So
on some level, whether or not it's a bat or an attempted recovery is sort of subjective. To me, he's clearly trying to bat it in the end zone and then kick it.
But it's not usually flagged when guys kick it out, though, is it? Like, I don't know the specifics of that.
When he's kicking
rule.
it in the end zone, it doesn't matter because it's going to be a safety either way. Yeah. But the bat would be a dead ball because you committed that penalty at the 2, presumably.
So this game was like very close. Iowa nearly won this game, obviously, but also it shouldn't have been close because Iowa had 1 touchdown on 7 trips inside Iowa's 30-yard line, and they did the thing a lot of teams do against Iowa, which is you don't quite put them away when you should, and then the Iowa comes out at Kinnick. So ultimately impressive win. Oregon averaged like 7 yards per carry in this game. They were running the ball. You didn't have DeCory, the receiver. You didn't have Sadiq, the tight end. You lost your right tackle. Bryant went out at one point during the game. Like, there was nobody for Dante Moore to throw to. And he only threw 2 passes in the second half until that final drive when he was really good, had that one perfect pass down the sideline. I am back to being a believer in Oregon, but I don't know with these injuries. Like, you were on a bye week. How did guys get hurt in practice? What is going
you're still running around. I mean, stuff can happen. By the way, Chris, on the Jordan Whittington piece, I'm not a Gary Danielson hater. ACC fans for the longest time have been wanting to fight this guy. He's been fine. Did you catch when they were talking about Oregon's running back situation for our G5 listeners?
Yeah. Said something like, what? How was he at Western? What did he say? Something like, how did he
basically, I tweeted it out. He said, let me find it.
Basically, he couldn't believe that such a player from Western Kentucky was doing.
It's hard to believe this guy transferred from Western Kentucky. What a good-looking football player. It's like, come on, Western Kentucky's got some dudes.
Western Kentucky, by the way, has had several guys drafted in the last couple of years. Tyson Helton develops dudes, and that's not including the guys that transferred out. So Oregon, Oregon's not a lock for the playoff yet. They've still got USC and they've still got Washington. I don't know what what this injury situation is. So if Iowa had won this, they would have been in a decent spot to make the playoff, maybe, but also like the possibility of a 2-bid Big Ten is not out of the realm of possibility. And we got a comment from Chris Slaughter on Spotify who said, Chris goes too far on the top-heavy Big Ten point. Iowa's a top 10 team if they pulled the Oregon game off, and SC or Michigan are locks if they win out. Big Ten may only get 3 in, but they are closer to 4 than 2. I would agree with that now. If Michigan wins out, yes, because they will have beaten Ohio State. But Michigan's likely to take a third loss there. USC's got Oregon. I mean, like, if Oregon beats USC, loses to Washington, Michigan loses to Ohio State, like, all of a sudden you got a bunch of 3-loss Big Ten teams, and I don't think there's a guarantee that happens. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But David, you've got another take here on the Big Ten.
Yeah, can we drop another take here?
We'll go quicker on this one because we still have a ton of games to get to. But your take, hold up, let me set up the heat check.
Analytics, throw them in the garbage.
Okay.
You know, for a long time, Chris, the SEC would not stop talking about national championships. We won all these championships. You know, even though like our middle class might be a little bit soft at times, like I think there were years that like the Big 12 was a little bit deeper. You know, they had some good years. The ACC had some good years. The SEC was like, it doesn't matter. We keep winning championships. We're the best league. Well, I think the SEC has that depth, and Bama's come on strong. But what we have seen so far this year is that Indiana and Ohio State look better than anything that the SEC has to offer. And last I checked, Chris, the Big Ten is still riding a 2-year streak on the national championship front and is very clearly eyeing a third. And so I get that people want to talk about recruiting rankings. They want to talk about draft picks. But for a long time, the crux of the argument has been national championships. And if the Big Ten is doing what they're doing, it seems clear to me that the Big Ten has been better than the SEC this year.
Well, I just think it depends on what the definition of better is, really.
Well,
and that is because yes, it was at what,
the
6 or 7
SEC's
or
own
8.
definition has undercut their argument at this point.
Well, partly, like part of it was, yes, all those national championship ones, but not only were they winning all the national championships, they were also having all the NFL draft picks. So like it was all feeding upon itself. And that is not necessarily the case. Like the bottom of the Big Ten is garbage. Like the bottom of the SEC is so much better.
Yes.
I think the middle of the SEC is arguably better. Yeah, I mean, you could make a good case. I mean, Oklahoma, Michigan was a close game. So like you could say it's pretty even. I'd probably give the SEC the edge still. But then at the top, yes, I agree. Like Ohio State, I'm not totally there in Indiana, but because you got Texas A&M right there too. And Alabama and Georgia and Ole Miss. So like I would take Ohio State over all those other teams, not necessarily Indiana. So like, look, if Ohio State runs the table, wins a second straight national championship, 3 straight Big Ten championships, yeah, like the Big Ten should crow about it. They should be crowing about it more than they are. There are people in other conferences who have said that to me, like, why is the Big Ten letting the SEC run the narrative in the sport? You guys have won the last 2 national championships. And it's true, because the Big Ten PR machine is very, very, very bad for numerous reasons. So I think the Big Ten is better than the SEC at the top. I would not say top to bottom it's better, though. Is that fair?
No, I don't think it is. But for a lot of years, the SEC I don't think was better top to bottom. But all that mattered was, well, we're winning championships. That's all my point is.
No, I mean, when Michigan beats Alabama and Illinois beats South Carolina in the bowl games last year, like, yeah, the SEC should be talking more. All right, getting into the rest of the games now. We'll start going through these faster. Well, Wake Forest 16, number 14 Virginia 9. Virginia quarterback Chandler Morris was knocked out of the game with a head injury. The backup Kalen came in and was like okay, but not great. And now there are no more undefeated teams in ACC play. Virginia had been playing with fire for weeks. It got them against a Wake Forest team that is 6-3 under Jake Dickert. So improved. They play so hard. This is a team I thought could be the worst Power 4 team in the country, and they're going to a bowl game. So shout out to them. And also Cal 29, number 15 Louisville 26. JKS made some big time NFL throws, by the way. He made some unbelievable throws in that game. And I would say this about Jeff Brom. So we know his record against top 10, top 5 teams. I think it's like 4-0 against top 2 teams or something like that. He's also lost 4 games over the last 2 years as a touchdown favorite, including a couple as a multi-touchdown favorite. The Stanford game last year, this game here against Cal when you were in playoff contention. And I think that's something you got to be kind of concerned about if you're interested in hiring Jeff Brom. They'll play up, they'll also play down. And so
which do you think you would rather have, Chris, if you're a fan of a team? The James Franklin, Josh Heupel experience, where you win most if not all the games you should. You don't win that many games that nobody expects you to win, or the Jeff Brom experience, where you're slaying giants left and right, and then you lose as an 18-point favorite with the playoff right in front of you. Louisville, in our model, was a 40% chance. Had 40% chance to make the playoff. That number, I believe, is down to 12 now.
I think I would go with the Brom version just because, as a fan, I want things to be excited about, and I'll take the highs with the lows. If it's all steady and you don't have many highs, it's not as interesting. But so the ACC now is a complete mess. It's likely a one bid league. The only way whoever wins the ACC basically gets the bid. The only way I could see a two bid is if Georgia Tech runs the table, beats Georgia, is 11-1 going to ACC championship, and they get upset. I think still be in. I think Georgia Tech would still be in. That'd be a two bid league. Now, there's also the faint possibility of a zero bid ACC. And that is if Duke, who just lost to UConn, wins the ACC and they're not ranked or something, and you have an American Conference champion and a James Madison. Both conference champions. Because it's top 5 conference champions that get in, not specific to number of conferences. The idea that there could be 2 G5 bids and no ACC is not out of the realm of possibility. Do you have thoughts?
Very funny. Well, I mean, I think it, like, so I was looking at some of these standings today. You mentioned Duke, who did just lose to UConn, and Duke, who is 5-4. Duke has one ACC loss. I think not that many people realize that, because they've been so off the radar. They have some bad losses, frankly, on their resume, but they're right there. And the tiebreakers, it's probably too early. I didn't really look into the tiebreakers.
It is. I'm not getting into all the tiebreakers right now.
The American, the ACC, like, it's probably going to come down to some tiebreakers. And all I'm looking at right now, like when I've sorted through the American, like, is head-to-head. Like, USF has the head-to-head on North Texas. There's no other, matchup there.
That's it.
The Memphis loss knocked them to the 2 loss, so they're probably out of it at this point.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Virginia,
the tiebreakers.
Virginia doesn't play Georgia Tech, for example, but they do play Duke next, and so that'll be a big game that probably eliminates one of them from contention. I will say the idea, though, James Madison getting in over an ACC champion will be tough, because you know who James Madison won their one losses to? Do you know what it is? It's to Louisville. They lost 28-14 to Louisville. I remember because my power went out that night and I didn't get to watch the whole second half.
I don't remember that game. Interesting.
It was a Thursday or Friday game is what it was. So that would be tough if you have a loss to an ACC team. Anyway, it's a mess. It's going to sort itself out more in the coming weeks, but there's that. All right, number 16, Vanderbilt 45, Auburn 38 in overtime. Auburn played great offensively, terribly defensively. Diego Pavia had like 500 yards by himself. We already talked on the last episode about Vanderbilt's decision to not kick, to go for the 4th down late. Yeah. I still would have kicked. Just win. Yeah, ultimately, so just Vanderbilt win. Vanderbilt now with 2 losses. They close with Kentucky and at Tennessee. Very decent shot that they're going to Tennessee with a playoff spot on the line if they win that game.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky got to be careful. They looked really good. Florida's been a roller coaster all season long. But yeah, for Vandy, it's pretty simple right now. It's a 2-game season. You got to win them both to get there. I think it's pretty cut and dry, Chris. Like, you lose either one of those games, it's not even going to be a conversation piece. And you win both, I don't think it's going to be close. So
I think it will, because if you look at Vanderbilt's schedule, the wins are not as good as we thought they were, because Missouri's falling apart without a quarterback. LSU is falling apart. They fired their coach.
Yeah,
have the
but
loss
Chris, they're
Texas.
going to get credit for the Mizzou win, even though
Right.
Purdue left early in that game. They're still going to get credit for
Right.
that win from the committee.
Like-
they're not going to be looking at what Missouri was in the month after they played Vandy.
Like they're not getting ahead of Texas, obviously, because they lost to Texas. And Oklahoma, I don't know. Like it's not a guarantee. You got to see how the rest of the weeks play out. But there's a very good shot that Vanderbilt could be playing for a spot. All right. Elsewhere in the SEC, Texas A&M 38, Missouri 17. Nothing really to say more about this. It was never really in doubt. How crazy is it that Texas A&M is 9-0? They're not going 8-4 this year, guys. They're 9-0, number 3. Like, and we just don't talk about them that much.
It's because they got all their drama out. Like that Notre Dame game was a crazy, crazy finish. And then since then, they've just been solid. They don't do shenanigans. You're not looking up and they're down 13-0 in the first quarter. It's just like, hey, we're going to run the ball. We're going to play solid defense. We're going to get the ball to our speedy receivers. You know, Concepcion's making plays. Craver's making plays. I like Bussy. Like all these guys, and they got all these backs. And like this is like if you told me in the preseason that this is what A&M was going to be, like none of it is shocking. They're playing right at their talent level. They're just maximizing what they have, and they don't have a dumb loss. And this is like A&M has been really talented for a long time, but this is one of the first A&M teams that's just banging up against its ceiling consistently, and they don't have the highs and lows. And I think some of that goes, first of all, a huge credit to Mike Elko, but I think the fact that Mike Elko, you know, reads as a person who is the same guy every day, and I don't know that A&M has always had that.
I will say, and this is the reason A&M to me doesn't have the case for number 1 yet, is that the schedule not quite what we thought it was. They have the win over Notre Dame, but other than that, you know, Auburn fired their coach, Florida fired their coach, Arkansas fired their coach, LSU fired their coach, Missouri had its backup quarterback. So like it's not an elite schedule they've gone through, but they've done what they needed to do against that schedule, and that counts for something.
Yep. And 9-0 in the SEC is 9-0. That's not a lot of teams are doing that.
And we will find out in a couple of weeks. And they finished, by the way, with South Carolina, who's down, Stanford. So they're going to be 11-0 without a sweat. And then going to Texas. And I will be at that game, Black Friday night. Last year, the winner went to the SEC championship. This year could be again. We'll see. We don't know how the SEC is going to shake out, but we'll see.
I think so, Chris. I will say, can I amend a take from last year slightly?
Sure.
Obviously, yeah. Obviously, I've been talking a lot about how conference championships are pointless and no one's going to care about them. I don't think Oregon cared at all about their Big Ten championship last year. I think clearly
I disagree.
Georgia would have what?
I disagree that Oregon didn't care, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, the way that it ended in the playoff, I think they didn't care. I think clearly Georgia would have traded that trophy for a healthy Carson Beck elbow. I think there is an exception in that A&M, it's been a weird run for them in the SEC. They've had some really good moments. 2020 was really good. Obviously, you had the Johnny year. I think an SEC championship would be deeply meaningful to A&M in a way that I would argue that no other team in the conference would appreciate and enjoy as much as Texas A&M would. So for that reason, I'd kind of like to see it.
They haven't won since 98 when they upset Kansas State and Bill Snyder that year in the Big 12 championship. So I agree with you on that point. In terms of like who would it, like Iowa State would be up there in terms of how much a conference championship would mean because they haven't won one in 100 and something years. But conference championships for places that haven't won them absolutely matter, and it'll be exciting to see if they make it there. We will see. Wisconsin 13, number 23, Washington 10. Washington out of the playoff. They had a shot, like I said, with their closing schedule, but they are out of it now. Wisconsin's leading passer was the punter who faked a punt. Second time Wisconsin's faked a punt, by the way, and it's worked well. So maybe that should just kind of be the offense. Good for Wisconsin to get a win. Cold and snowy there. Got the shirtless fans. David approves that Wisconsin is able to do that. And storm the field. I'm fine with it. You've been down. Have some fun. Let everybody have some fun.
I'm good.
Washington home and away, completely different team right now. It's really kind of one of those Jekyll and Hyde week-to-week teams, depending on where you're at. And if you're Jed Fish and you want that UCLA job or that Florida job or some other job, that's going to be a tough one to talk your way out of. Now, I will say Washington was banged up. I think Jonah Coleman got hurt in this game. They had some guys go down. But Wisconsin is terrible, man. You cannot have that happen.
No.
All right. Number 19, USC 38, Northwestern 17. They got Fetty Wept. Shout out to Richard Sherman. So the fake punt thing, with Sam Heward wearing number 80, he's a backup quarterback. He comes in for the first punt of the game, doesn't punt it, throws a pass. And everybody's saying, hey, that's a penalty. You can't have two guys at the same position with the same number. And that's correct. However, my read of the situation Saturday night was correct. Because Sam Heward was the first one to go out in a punt formation, that's not a penalty. The penalty is later when another person came in to punt, the actual number 80, the actual punter. And the Big Ten said in a statement, a penalty should have been assessed. A lot of, like, this whole thing kind of blows my mind because, one, it was a fake punt to, just pick up a first down. It wasn't even like a big play touchdown in a big moment. Or you're playing Northwestern. Lincoln Riley said they've had it for weeks on the game day roster that Sam Heward's number 80. Why was this the moment that you pulled out this play that was ultimately meaningless in a game you had no trouble with?
I don't know. I will say I'm having trouble caring about this. I've seen people up in arms about it.
It was 38-17.
Yeah, it's like the Auburn Oklahoma thing earlier this year was way worse. Where we had that's the last time we're digging in the rule books, reading the illegal tactics section. That was much worse, but this is kind of
Yeah, Lincoln Riley also after the game asked about the idea of him leaving, to which he said something like, "I'm where I need to be. Everybody knows what I've sacrificed to be here."
I don't know what Lincoln sacrificed to be at USC. I got to be honest. I don't know what that was. I'm going to need somebody to enlighten me. So if you do know what Lincoln Riley sacrificed.
He sacrificed being at a program where he was going to the playoff every year. That's what he gave up. To go to a USC
if you know what Lincoln Riley sacrificed to be at USC, please email us bunchformationpod@gmail.com because I don't know. I need someone to help me out.
Sacrifice and brisket as well. Number 4, Alabama beats LSU 20-9. The problems with Alabama showed up here, and that is 2.2 yards per rush. The leading rusher had 21 yards. You're at home. LSU's defense played really hard. Credit to them. Dead cat bounce without a coach and all that. Bama did enough, but Michael Van Buren comes in. Garrett Nussmeier gets benched, even though he was 18 for 21 passing. Van Buren comes in, leads them down. They could score a touchdown to make it a 3 or 4 point game. I think they end up having to kick a field goal. Bama gets a field goal. It pulls out of reach, but it was an opportunity for Alabama to really put a boot down on somebody, and they didn't quite do it again. And it makes me a little concerned, against a team that has a pretty good defense, what Alabama could do.
Yeah, but I still seeing what Ty Simpson has been able to do. He's grown up a lot this year. I mean,
big time throws. We don't
even need to talk about him before this year. That touchdown pass, in between the safeties to Ryan Williams, that window. I mean, he literally there's a second and a half when there's
an NFL window.
Ryan Williams is open. Yes, you gotta let it rip, and he let it rip, threw it high, got it where it needed to go, put it between the safeties. That throw was one of the better throws I've seen all year. And I think his processing, his accuracy, if Bama does some special things this year, I think a lot of it is going to be because of Ty Simpson. I've had him on my Heisman ballot for those reasons, because the defense hasn't been super great and they can't run the ball. And I've just been really impressed with what we've seen from Ty Simpson this year.
Could also be the Kalen DeBoer play down to your competition thing that always seems to happen with them. All right, number 5, Georgia beats Mississippi State 41-21. Georgia fell behind early, but then figured it out and kind of romped the rest of the way. Georgia was just physically bigger against a Mississippi State team that cannot stop the run. Nate Frazier, 181 rushing yards on 12 carries. Not much else to say other than I wonder if Georgia is going to stop kind of messing around. And they have not really played many complete games this year. They've been in a lot closer games than you would expect, like the Florida game a few weeks ago. This was one they put away, and that's what I needed to see from Georgia to know if you can do that. And they did it, but not much else. You got anything?
No, just Georgia and Bama are last year we were joking about the season seemed wide open and it'd be fun if we just got down to the end. It's these two. And we look at them, those two teams, I mean, obviously Bama specifically, but Georgia as well, have improved over the last 6 weeks more than just about anybody. And I would be really, really scared to see either of those teams in the playoff.
By the way, do you see what Lane Kiffin said at one of the halftime interviews?
I did.
He did. He was like, "What do you think about the game, or whatever?" And he's like, "I love that Mississippi State's getting blown up by Georgia." Oh, you're talking about my game? Oh, I thought you were talking about. No, we got the Egg Bowl. 2 weeks, man. That's gonna be fun. Looking forward to that.
Ole Miss better be careful in that game. Like Mississippi State's been a little spicy. I'd be careful. I'd be careful.
They play hard. They don't have the guys. That's what it is. Number 1, Ohio State beat Purdue 34-10. Nothing to say other than Julian saying once again, really good. And Ohio State, just the schedule is what it is. They haven't played much of
I just want to see him get tested. Like I don't know. We don't know that much about Ohio State. I don't mean this as an insult, but the defense is really overrated because we really don't know how good it is because they just haven't been tested. It might be really, really good, but this idea that this is generational defense, like, no. Like,
I'm trying to think who is the best offense they've played? Is it
might be Illinois?
Is it the Washington team that just lost to Wisconsin? Is it Illinois? Is it Texas in your first game? Like, this is like, I think Ohio State's defense is really, really good, but there's always those years. Every year, like in the mid 2010s, when you look up who's leading the league in points, it's like, here's Wisconsin. They've played one team above 500, like all the time. And Ohio State.
I mean, again, I like Arvell Reese and stuff, but think about when you have watched Ohio State this year. Have you ever gotten?
No, I've not watched much Ohio State. I've not watched much Ohio State because I've not had a reason to.
I've seen them a decent bit. When you watch them, has that defense ever given you the feelings of like that first great Georgia defense that had like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis running around? Like that defense, when you watch them, you were like, oh my gosh, they're going to kill somebody playing out there. I just haven't quite gotten that with Ohio State because they have just been tested.
No, well, like I have no thoughts about it because of what I just said. They played nobody worth a damn on offense. So we'll find out when they Michigan in 3 weeks. You go to Michigan Stadium. That has not gone well for you. You lost to Davis Warren last year. So like that's what I want to see. Like that will be the moment. That could be the time, honestly, when Julian Sayin is the betting leader for the Heisman. But if you were to tell me right now, if we were to vote right now, Julian Sayin's not winning the Heisman. Like that.
He's not on my ballot right now. I'm sorry.
That would go to Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson because of what they've done on big stages. But if Julian Sayin closes the season with a big performance against Michigan and a big performance against Indiana, he's absolutely going to be right there in the mix.
I think that's fair. He might. I mean, I might vote for him if we see him be the reason that they win those games. I think that's fair. But right now, the defense is carrying him. He's throwing to 2 NFL receivers.
Well, he's playing great. He's playing great, but he's playing against nobody.
I'm not
he's playing with
NFL
guys.
Yes, they haven't been pushed.
They're not.
They haven't gotten down 10-0 where you need a quarterback to do something. Like it. That's just different.
I'm just saying they're not just winning because of the defense. He's doing just as much, but again, it's who they play.
Chris,
all right.
If you need 15 points to win a game every week and you walk in knowing that's the case, come on. Like,
right.
He knows when they start. If we score 17 today, we're gonna win. Like, okay.
Yes. All right, we go to American / Group of 5 corner presented to you by Soar the Eagle. Tulane 38, Memphis 32. This was a Friday game. A lot of fun.
Yeah, great.
Wasn't fun for Memphis until that fourth quarter. Memphis is down 21. They scored 2 touchdowns, get the ball back twice with a chance to win the game. Ultimately can't do it. Tulane holds on. Jake Retzlaff, terrific, incredible in the first half. Not great in the second half. Memphis's CFP hopes go away. That's their second conference loss. But Tulane, that first half Tulane, that was the Tulane we needed to see again, that we hadn't seen since the first half of the season. They'd been playing with their food all year. And then in the second half, they were playing with their food again. And so, we'll see on that. Thursday night, the night before, USF 55, UTSA 23. It was 14-3 before USF's offense took the field because there was a pick six on the first play. There was a scoop and score. There was a muffed punt. It was a crazy thing. But USF did what it needed to do. Owen McCown turned back into a pumpkin, and USF is now ranked in the AP poll So that was important for them. And so in terms of where the American, first off, any thoughts on those two games?
Another great game for Byron Brown. It brings me a lot of joy to get the Byron Brown season we've been waiting on. One incompletion in that game, 100 yards rushing and a score. Like, it's been great to see him get back to the guy that we saw in 23 that really looks special. He's bigger. He's a much tougher runner. He's a much better passer. Like, it's been awesome to watch Byron Brown play.
Yeah. If there is a 3-team tie or more in the American Conference standings, if nobody is ranked, if somebody is ranked, it'll come down to that. If nobody's ranked, it'll come down to computer rankings. And last I checked, North Texas was looking better positioned in the computer rankings than Tulane was actually.
We don't know who the committee is going to turn to, because last week it was Memphis, who wasn't ranked but obviously showed up in the bracket. Mm-hmm. So if you're an American team, I would be watching Tuesday night and paying a lot of attention, because we don't know what they're going to turn to.
We've got USF's got Navy still to play. Tulane's got FAU, Temple, and Charlotte. So 2 teams that are kind of feisty. But if they all win out, if USF, Tulane, North Texas all win out, I'm not sure. USF, I imagine, would be tops in the computer rankings. They seem to be there. They'd probably be in. If USF wins out, they're in. But Tulane, North Texas, we're not sure yet. It's going to take a few weeks to see how that looks. And I say that because if they don't all win out, if there's a bunch of upsets, James Madison beat Marshall 35-23. JMU is 8-1. ESPN actually gives James Madison the best shot to make the playoff among the group of 5. And that surprises me, because they're
second in Austin Mock's model, our guy.
They finished with Appalachian State, Washington State, Coastal Carolina Sun Belt Championship game. Their best win right now is like Old Dominion, I guess, who's like, I think 6-3 or 6-4 or something like that. Their one notable team they played, Louisville, they lost. It was competitive, but they lost. And if you've got if you have a 2-loss American champ, I think they're probably getting in over James Madison, just because.
Yeah, don't you think though, Chris? If whoever wins the American from this point on doesn't lose, probably shows up in the rankings.
I don't know. Well, that's the other thing. Like, if they all win out, USF, Tulane, North Texas could all like somehow end up in the rankings. Like, North Texas would be 11-1. And so that's where it's like that tiebreaker comes into effect too, of like who's ranked higher and whatnot. So, but James Madison, by the way, in the AP poll, the highest ranked group of 5 team at the moment. Now, we don't know what the CFP committee is going to do. We only see the 25. We don't see anybody after that. All we know is Memphis was the highest. They are no longer the highest. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Also, Hawaii beat San Diego State 38-6. San Diego State CFP is done. Mountain West CFP is done. Hawaii 7-3. Timmy Chang doing a pretty good job there.
I didn't watch that. Chris, what happened? What? That's going to be on the short list of weirdest results of the season.
No, the weirdest result of the season is Wisconsin-Washington to me at the moment. But I would say it was like 21. We were recording Saturday night during the game. By the time we finished up, it was like 21-6, and it was like kind of over by then. So I'm not sure, but there's that. All right, moving over to hot seat watch. No coaches fired on Sunday, but some coaches who are feeling it a bit. Rutgers 35, Maryland 20. Mike Loxley. It's not September, so they're losing games. They rushed for 300 yards in this game and still lost. And it's weird because like
by 2 scores,
the fans are checked out. You've got a new AD who didn't hire you, but you've got a lot of young talent. Like, they just have a bunch of really good young dudes. Malik Washington, the quarterback, rushed for 164 yards in this game. And it's like, do we fire the coach and lose all those guys and completely start over? Or do we give them one more year? And I think some of the feeling has been around Maryland. If they can get to 6 wins, they're probably okay. Give them one more year, because you have these promising young guys, and presumably they can keep them. I guess that's assuming they can keep them, but they must think that they can. And so give it another year. But man, a 2-score loss to Rutgers is not the way you want to do it. And their schedule finishes with Illinois, Maryland, Michigan State. And you got to win 2 of those. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Clemson 24, Florida State 10. ugly game. Florida State had a red zone fumble. They had a missed field goal. They had a wide open drop on a 4th down. Made Clemson feel like Clemson again. You even had Brent Venables on the sideline because his kid's on the team, and Brent can't go to senior day, so he came to this game. Florida State, they have said they're waiting till the end of the season, and I imagine that's the case. But now you're going to want to win these last 3 games, which is Florida, Virginia Tech, and somebody. I forgot who the other one was. But
some of the worst vibes imaginable in this game.
Incredibly bad. You win those games, you're 7-5, and you can at least sell that. But if you lose another one, 6-6, I don't know if that's going to do it. I was waiting on Sunday, like talking to people like, hey, is Florida State, could that happen? And it doesn't seem like it. It seems like they are really going to try to get to the end of the season. We'll see. Kentucky 38, Florida 7. Florida has already fired its coach, obviously, but Mark Stoops, big win. He's got, I think, 5 wins over Florida now, which equals like the previous 40 or 50 years of Kentucky versus Florida before he got there. So Mark Stoops, I don't know how motivated he is, but it's a good vibes win. And then
in this carousel, Chris, with so many jobs and so few candidates, could you see a school talking themselves into Mark Stoops?
No, not right now. No, we had when he had it rolling there, the thought was, does he go back to Iowa? Yeah, I think he might have played there. But now, if you're Iowa, you don't want that. I don't think that's going to happen. Elsewhere, SMU 45, Boston College 13.
What's up, Trevor?
What's up, Trevor, is that it's not going great. There have been some rumblings in the past week or so about Bill O'Brien's future there, but they don't have any money, kind of like Happy Gilmore's grandma. And so it's not exactly the kind of job that people are going to be clamoring for. How many guys do you think could do a better job than Bill O'Brien? But they're 1-9, I think. They would be the worst team in the Power 4 if not for Oklahoma State. And do you pull a Luke Fickell thing where you say he's coming back, we're here, and we're going to give him the resources?
I mean, I think you have to do something along those lines. I think, you'll have to forgive me because I haven't really kept super close watch on what exactly has gone wrong there. But it just seems so stark. Like they were pushing people last year. They were a solid team last year. They win 7 games. And then this year they're terrible. And I couldn't really explain to you why. And that seems like an issue. Syracuse, I think Fran Brown almost gets a pass because they were looking real spicy. And then the quarterback gets hurt. And it's like, well, that's what happened. And their schedule's ridiculous.
Yeah.
BC, I don't really know. So
with BC, a lot of it's too how committed do you want to be? You're gonna have to pay money, and changing the coach and not spending any more money on a roster is not going to give you many better results. So we'll see. But as of now, no changes. Some other games of note: Arizona 24, Kansas 20. Kansas was up 3 late, had a 4th and 2 and a short field goal. Could have gone for it in the win. Didn't. Kicked the field goal. Missed the field goal. Arizona drives down, scores a winning touchdown. On Arizona bowl eligible. Very big for Brent Brennan. Another guy who was on the hot seat, but I think is doing a good enough job right now to hold on to that. Kansas, that's tough. You've late game, Kansas is not great.
11, by the way, Chris, 11 Big 12 teams have 5 or more wins so far. Kansas, one of them.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Iowa State 20, TCU 17. You won't believe this, but Sonny Dykes' team is having trouble down the stretch. TCU was better in this game. They were up late, but a Iowa State punt return touchdown gives them the lead. They win. TCU fans they're kind of out on Sonny Dykes right now. And last week I did a regrade of the coaching carousel from 4 years ago. And Sonny Dykes was hard to do. I ultimately gave him a B. I gave him an A-. Otherwise it would have been like a B or B+. But when you make the championship game and beat Michigan to do that,
yes,
to me that was enough to move it up to an A-. Because the 4 years prior with Gary Patterson, they were like a 500 team or worse. It's not like Gary was at the height of his powers at the end. It was not good. So Sonny has come in, you make the championship game, you fall back to 5-7, not good. But then you win 9 games last year, and you're looking like you could be like a 9-10 win team this year, and you're just
not.
You're losing games to an Iowa State team that's out of bodies. That is tough. Elsewhere in the Big 12, West Virginia 29, Colorado 22. Juju Lewis had a pretty good game, actually, at quarterback.
Yeah, it was
for
a nice
Colorado.
debut for him, yeah.
But some more Deion Sanders clock management late in this game. So they're down by 10. And third down run goes out of bounds. Short. It's fourth down. Clock is stopped, I believe. And they take too much time in deciding whether to go for it or kick a field goal. He has to call timeout to avoid the delay of game, which he should not have done. Do not call that timeout. You need that timeout because it's late in the game. They make the field goal. West Virginia recovers the onside kick. They did get a first down, so the timeout wouldn't have mattered anyway. But, man, if they had gotten a stop there, like, a timeout would have cost him 40 seconds. Deion Sanders in timeouts, not been great this year.
No.
And
We'll see kind of there. I think you're going to get a staff reboot, and I'm very curious what the future is for Juju. I think some really important games here for Juju Lewis down the stretch to see like what can you be? What can you show?
Do you think they're going to keep him? Like, if you're Colorado,
I think that's a question that I think has a complex answer, because one, I think it matters how you look down the stretch here, and two, if you say, hey, you can handpick your OC, which I think is probably going to happen, what other program in the country is going to let you do that? So obviously you came to Colorado, you have some affinity for Deion Sanders' program. They still have pretty good receivers. They're going to be bringing a bunch of those guys back. And if you say, hey, you can be a partner in picking what the future of this offense looks like, that's a pretty compelling package, money aside. You're going to have to pay for your quarterback, and I'm sure people will be calling him. But if I had to bet, I would say yes, but they got to do, I think mostly because they know how important that is to everything else that they want to do. Like, that has to be priority number one. And if you make that priority number one, Deion generally has been pretty good at getting done the things that he really wants to get done.
Do you know where they rank in the 2026 recruiting rankings, by the way?
I believe it's in the 90s, something like that.
They are 80th, just ahead of East Carolina, Georgia State, and Toledo, just behind Miami of Ohio, James Madison, Western Kentucky, and Temple. And it's like, what is the plan here if you're not recruiting?
Well, they're going to have to figure something out. I mean, obviously the plan is to raid the portal, but you got like 38 seniors on this team. That's going to be a really challenging thing to figure out. I mean, we're going to get another reboot. But
the portal is not what it was 2-3 years ago either. Like, you got Travis Hunter because you're like a father figure to him, and Shador was your son, and you're not having these elite guys join the portal anymore. Like, portal basically for this point is like for depth purposes. And it's like, you need to have some stars, and you got to get that. I think
there's some denial happening there, Chris. And if, again, it's a combination of the portal has changed since Deion got to Colorado, because people realize that they'd rather pay for the devil they know than go pay for the devil that they don't.
They want, and so what you're saying is schools are doing a better job of keeping their guys. That's what's going on.
Yes, and Colorado has not adjusted its high school plan. Deion's still not leaving Boulder. The health, factor is obviously going to be a factor in traveling and getting around and all that stuff. But you're not wrong about the portal situation, and it seems to me, Chris, that Colorado is about to find that out the hard way, because the portal that they dipped into in 2022, when they still didn't really do great, is not the portal that they're going to be dipping into at the end of 2025. So ultimately, Deion's going to have more kids, I think, is the short answer to this.
I just like, what is the like long-term plan here? Like, what is the plan for you guys to get back to try to compete for a conference championship? And if you're not recruiting, it's not going to happen. So that's a weird situation.
Recruiting class in 2048 looks great.
As we mentioned, UConn 37, Duke 34. Good for UConn, man. Like, this is their third bowl game in 4 years. They're 7-3 now. They have not lost in regulation. They have 3 overtime losses to Syracuse when they were good, Rice and Delaware, weirdly. But they beat Duke. They faked a punt late. Largest home crowd since 2013.
The rent. That's a great name for their stadium, by the way.
yeah, it's so like Jim Moore, like maybe he becomes a name you start to hear more on the coaching carousel.
I mean,
like,
he's going to, Chris. Listen,
he
the depths with which some of these openings are going to be, like Jim Mora, I think we're not going to get far into the carousel before he comes into play somewhere. Like it's going to get bare, I think.
But good for UConn as an independent. It's very hard because nobody cares about your team unless you're a fan of the team. There's no like checking the conference standings or conference player of the week. I wanted them to join Conference USA for football. They didn't want to. The fans revolted against me. Like, fine, but like they wanted to play more of these games in the Northeast and try to play those teams. CBS Sports Network, like, okay, I get it. Like Duke fans showed up, so like it was something. But I don't know. UConn's got more ACC wins over the last 2 years than Florida State does. So how about that? Delaware 25, Louisiana Tech 24. Crazy game down the stretch. Delaware was down 17-16 with like 2 minutes left or so. They throw a pick six, so they're down 8. They get the ball back, score a touchdown, don't get the 2-point conversion with like 30-something seconds left, but they get the onside kick, hit a 51-yard field goal with like 12 seconds left to win. Crazy finish. Delaware, I think they're at 5 wins now. They won't be bowl eligible because they're an FBS transition team if they get to 6, unless there aren't enough 6-6 teams. The same thing with James Madison a few years ago. Missouri State, by the way, did get to 6 wins. They beat Liberty. Same situation. Only a bowl game if there's not enough. But also Delaware and Missouri State not eligible for Conference USA championship. Louisiana Tech, Sonny Cumbie, you really want to get to a bowl game. That would have been a 6th win. Tough one to miss out on there. Southern Miss 27, Arkansas State 21. Southern Miss is now 7-2 after being 1-11 last year. And Charles Huff, the coach, I don't know if this has ever happened in college football history, to win back-to-back conference championships in the same conference with
two different teams.
Because he might do it.
I mean, somebody's probably done it moving up. I don't know that we've had somebody move down. We definitely have not seen it when they move down. I would guess that somebody's done it moving up.
So he is 13-1 against Sunbelt teams the last 2 years. They are undefeated atop the Sunbelt West right now. They may be able to wrap up a spot in the conference championship game before they may play Troy in the last game of the regular season for the winner to win the division. If you're James Madison, by the way, you want Southern Miss winning out because you want to win over a 10-2 Southern Miss team to help your resume there. So interesting things going on down there at Southern Miss. Elsewhere in the Sun Belt, real quick, Louisiana 42, Texas State 39. Weird finish. These teams got a pretty long fight at the end of the game. Police had to get involved.
I didn't see what I saw some statements, but the fight looked kind of relatively tame. But
there was a lot of videos out there. Some of them looked like nothing. Some of them you could see some people doing some big swings. I don't know if there were any injuries.
As long as people aren't swinging helmets where you can actually kill someone. If they're just throwing punches, I'm kind of like, all right, throw up, guys. Like,
if you don't have
break it up and move on.
If you don't have Ned out there on crutches, by the way, Texas State now 3-6. Disappointing season for them. GJ Kinney, a guy we thought would be heavily involved in the coaching carousel. Tough to do when you're now this and you're going into the Pac-12 next year. Louisiana, by the way, 13 straight wins over Texas State. A lot of Pac-12 taunting to them after the game as well.
How does one taunt to the future of the Pac-12?
Basically, like, enjoy the Pac-12, take it to the Pac-12 or something like. Sam Houston 21, Oregon State 17. Sam Houston's first win of the season. Good for the Bearcats. This happened because Oregon State's historically bad special teams were even more horrible than you could possibly imagine. They allowed a kick return touchdown. They had a punt blocked for a touchdown, and they missed 2 field goals. And they lost by 4.
They were 20-point favorites in this game. By the way, 135 FBS teams have a victory this season. UMass, get it done.
UMass got destroyed by Akron midweek. They remain our last winless team.
It's not good. If you haven't watched UMass, I recommend it.
Our friend Sam Kahn was always hitting up our group chat every week, upset that Sam Houston was not number 136, that I had UMass worse than them. And he was constantly like, no, Sam Houston is worse. Sam Houston is worse. So UMass plays Akron on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it was. and I was texting with Sam about it. And he goes, all right, time to see if UMass is really as bad as Chris says they are. And I think it was like the first possession or something. UMass runs a fake punt and it goes terribly wrong. And Sam's like, okay, I see what Chris is talking about. And that remains the case. Clear number 136 right now. All right, now we move to the helmet stickers. This is where we give a shout out to a player who had a really, really good performance who maybe didn't get enough attention for it. I'm going to go with Teron Dickens, quarterback at Western Carolina, friend of the show who we've never talked to in our life before.
You love this kid.
had 551 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, but they lost with the Southern Conference pretty much on the line. They lost to Mercer because Western Carolina missed a 33-yard field goal as time expired, although some people there thought they had made it. And some fans had stormed the field, and someone picked up the kicker. But you look at the replay, and it was clearly wide. I'm not sure how people thought it was good. That said, Teron Dickens has been putting up just insane numbers all season long for him. We shouted him out on the preview podcast as our FCS pick, but wanted to update it, and he updated it with just another insane stat line. He has, I think, 34 touchdowns and 2 picks on the year, completing like almost 80% of his passes. But congrats to Mercer for getting the win.
I'm going to go with, speaking of insane stat lines, Jacob DeJesus, 16 catches.
Wait. Who is he? Who is he? Wait. You got to tell us who he is.
Excuse me.
Cal receiver.
Cal receiver. 16 catches, 158 yards, scored the game-winning touchdown pass, also threw a 27-yard completion, also drove the team bus back to the hotel, was also handing out food after. I think he cleaned the toilets in the locker room when they were finished. Just had an all-around night. Big-time performance for Mr. Jacob DeJesus. And they got him on that little whip route. If you look at his numbers through the seasons, he's had a few big games. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you don't adjust if you're Louisville and you can't let this kid. If you let anybody have 16 catches in a game, and especially somebody that's like making a huge impact on the game, it's not just check downs to the running back when you're playing prevent. I don't know. But shout out to Mr. DeJesus. Great game. Big time performance.
The recipient of many of those NFL quality throws from Jaron Kusonga-Pulatele. Going to get better at saying it, but JKS is just more easy and more fun to say. Big time stuff there. Big win for Cal to get to 5-5 now. I think they are. They are. What is their record? They are 6-4 now. Sorry, so they are now going to a bowl game after starting 5-2, and that's another like kind of. It's another like almost hot seat one where like the thought was like, does Justin Wilcox need to get to 8 wins to keep his job? That was kind of the thought coming in. 6-4 now, and you've got your quarterback of the future, and if you think you can keep him because he likes the coaches, like it's another spot where maybe Justin Wilcox keeps his job at a place everybody thought was going to fire the coach at the end of the year. May not end up being the case. All right, time to end the show the way we always do, and that is by remembering some guys.
It's better than this. Guys being dudes.
And in honor of Wisconsin's ugly, ugly home win, I'm going to go with former Wisconsin quarterback Scott Tolzien, quarterback from 2006 to 2010, went to a Rose Bowl, then Russell Wilson went to one, but he was one of the last, like, just a guy who just does enough, and Wisconsin runs the ball a bunch of times and wins. He actually spent, like, 6 or 7 years in the NFL after being undrafted.
Did he really? I don't think I knew that. Wow.
Yeah, but when I think of like classic random white guy Wisconsin quarterback who doesn't have the biggest arm, but he just does just enough and you win 10 games, I think Scott Tolzien. That's my guy.
I'm going to go off the map for my remember some guys. Chris, I guarantee you have not heard of this guy. Do you know who Mike Nail is?
I do not.
Well, he was Arkansas's radio announcer for many, many years. Was the voice of some really good Arkansas basketball teams that were a big reason like why I fell in love with sports when I was a kid. He died of cancer this weekend. And, obviously he called the 1994 national championship game, and everybody kind of has that. And as much as we've complained about the YouTube TV situation and not being able to watch games, like there was a time when we were younger, not that much younger, football and basketball, it literally wasn't on TV. You have just listened on the radio, like in our lifetimes. It feels, considering the modern day and everything's on ESPN Plus or SEC Network Plus and all that stuff, it feels impossible. But it wasn't that long ago that literally you couldn't watch games unless you attended. And so Mike Nail was the voice for a lot of that for my childhood. And hey, he retired about 20 years ago, and just a guy that every time I hear it, I can think about it. I'm transported back to like 1994. And man, thanks for all that, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, everybody's got kind of the local iconic voices. Like I can think of a handful of guys in Detroit, who I associate with teams or moments or sports or things like that. Like even like Gary Thorne, like I associate him with like 1990s and 2000s NHL hockey. Like to me, he is like the voice of the NHL to me, because that's what it was when I was a kid. So good one there. And we got a nomination from listener Hunter from a bit ago. Says, Chris and Dave, great show. Appreciate all you do. I think remembering some guys naturally leans heavily on offensive players. So may I suggest two great defenders. I will let Hunter get away with two because it's rare, unlike you who tries to do two all the time.
For the record, one of his two I have remembered on this show before, just so that.
That's what I thought. Okay, I wasn't sure, but the first one is Virginia Tech defensive end Corey Moore. Hunter says he was incredibly undersized for the defensive line, but notched 31 sacks in his final two seasons, which included the 1999 Michael Vick team that made it to the national championship. Good selection. The other one was, I wasn't sure. Yes, you have done this one as well, so it doesn't count. But LSU defensive tackle Glenn Dorsey, dominant.
Yeah, one of my favorite players of all time, and also a big piece of my front line on NCAA 06. With an LSU team that I played religiously. Jamarcus Russell, Dwayne Bowe, Ali Broussard, and Glenn Dorsey holding it down on the front of that defense. Great team. I really enjoyed playing with them on NCAA 06. Tip of the cap.
I don't have a running list of the guys we have remembered, so I do worry sometimes we may double up on accidents.
I've been remembering a guy, and then I've remembered that I already remembered that guy. It has happened before, so I try to spread it out. So
yeah,
we'll duplicate it at some point. Somebody will catch us, and it'll be a really embarrassing episode for the entire show, and I look forward to that day. So.
And if you have nominations, send them to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. We only have one other listener nomination in the tank right now, so send those emails in so we can get that list going. Love that we get more feedback about this segment than anything else on the show, and that means a lot because it's the very last segment on the show. That means everybody who has nominated somebody has listened to the end, and we really, really appreciate that. And if you're new to the show, if you found the show on Saturday night and you're listening, thank you very much. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps the show. Leave your own review. We will read it on the show as well. Dave, we only got 3 weeks of regular season college football left. It's getting cold outside. It's starting to feel like football weather. I don't know where any of these conference races are going or this playoff race is going. This is a lot of fun. Are we going to be back? Are we going to be back live Tuesday night?
I think so. For a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think so. Life gets complicated, but I think so.
We are planning to once again go live on YouTube, and I guess I'll put it on Twitter too. When the CFP show goes live on ESPN, we will also go live, so you can watch it with us. And then when they're done, we will reset and kind of recap and react to everything. And we usually put that second half on the audio feed, the podcast feed, which we did last week. So had a good time last week doing it.
Yeah.
Reacting live as it happened. So we will do that Tuesday night. I don't know exactly what time it is. I don't know if it's the one that's halftime of the Champions Classic or something, but whatever it is, whenever the ESPN show goes live, we will go live on YouTube and Twitter as well. So that'll do it here. We talked about a lot of games. I'm glad we got into it. David, feeling pretty good about things right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's going to be a really exciting finish to the season. We kind of know where the Big Ten title is going, but I want to see that game. I don't know what that game's going to do. And then the rest of the conferences pretty much are are wide open. You know, the Big 12 is kind of a 3-4 horse race at this point, but it's wide open. I think ultimately, you know, games like Indiana's drive and all that stuff, nobody thought while that game was happening, well, this doesn't matter because if they don't get it, they're probably still going to the playoff. It enhanced it a lot. And then obviously you have a ton of relevant games. The 12-team playoff has been awesome. It's really enhanced the regular season, at least my enjoyment of it.
What a game!
Unbelievable. Wait, that's not the one I wanted. Where was it? This one.
In trouble! It's out! Touchdown! Wow! Oh, unbelievable!
You never know.
Terrible call,
what's gonna happen
Gus, but I still love you. Yeah.
We love Gus. We love college football. We will talk to you on Tuesday night. Thank you for listening to the Bunch Formation podcast. Dave,
and please
finish
bring
the
back
show.
the
Wait, we
turnover
got to
chain.
finish it. Don't forget. We got to remember some guys, and we got to remember one other thing. What is it?
We got to bring back the turnover chain always.